At this point, I'm really only doing this video so I can curse some poor team into getting first rounded in the major. Right now, I'm 2 for 6 out of getting these correct, and that also probably makes this one of the biggest L's I've taken for a long time. But that means I can just sit back and watch some Siege like the rest of you, and not soil my reputation with another predictions video for another 3 months. Maybe it's for the best. The 6th August Major concludes this weekend, as Europe is the final region to crown its major champion. Plenty of you have been asking me this week to not predict the winner of Europe, but for the sake of the content, I really must protest. The views are just too easy. All 8,500 of them. One thing to include before we get started, however, since this is the same casting crew as the one that did the APAC Major a couple of weeks ago, everybody was supposed to be working out of the Paris studio again for Europe, but there's been a harsher spike of COVID-19 cases, and travel restrictions made it impossible to justify moving everyone back to the studio. It'll be another stay-at-home broadcast. As disappointing as it is, it's absolutely the right call, but please, wear a mask in public, wash your hands, check to make sure you aren't a risk to others, and please use common sense. Not being able to travel internationally is eating some of us alive right now. And this would have been a really good European contingent if we could have had an international major. Rogue, BDS Esport, G2 Esports, and Virtus.pro are the 4 teams battling it out for this major crown. And this genuinely may be the hardest region to call. It's the same format that we've seen all month, double elimination bracket with the winner's bracket grand finalist getting a 1-map advantage at the end. So far, this format has produced 2 grand finals where the upper bracket winner has blown out the other team. NIP beat FaZe in 2 maps, as did Dark Zero over TSM. So if trends are to be believed, you do not want to go to the European grand final down by a point. First game is Rogue against Virtus.pro. I don't know what I did with my mic, but I think that was probably bad. This is the only game I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I can call with 100% accuracy. Rogue wins. Not only is this the number 1 seed team against the number 4 seed, Rogue won their head-to-head matchup earlier in the EUL season 7-5, and VP are the only team across any major region that snuck into these semifinals with an overall losing record. And with it being a month since either of these teams had a game last and having all of that time to prepare, Rogue should clean this one up pretty damn easy. The other game is literally a coin flip. BDS versus G2 is starting to become a tale as old as time. We first saw them link up at DreamHack Montreal last year, where they both won a series against each other, but BDS would end up eliminating G2 from the group stage in their second match. G2 would get revenge at the OGA Pit qualifier a month later, then the two met twice in Season 11 and nearly fought each other to a standstill both times. They played once at the Invitational group stage, with G2 ultimately winning again, then BDS dropped RX for Daye, and when they played together in the EUL, got another win to help sort of even things out. Safe to say, there's never been a time when BDS versus G2 has ever been a bad match. And like I said, this is a coin flip, so give me 1 second. Heads is BDS since they're the higher seed. Looks like tails to me. And you think I'm kidding, the camera just won't focus. It's a tails. It's just a normal US quarter. It's tails. G2 wins. At the end of the day, the fact remains that one of these teams has to go to the lower bracket to face Virtus.pro. There's no getting around that, but I don't see a way whichever team loses this game is eliminated on the first day. If the loser's bracket is BDS versus VP, then this is a BDS victory. I think I'd feel more confident in G2 beating Virtus.pro because they're capable of prepping a lot more on short notice since they have a coaching staff, whereas BDS doesn't have a coach at all. But the French can absolutely make it happen. The Russians are the first team knocked out in Europe, in my humble opinion, which isn't humble in the slightest. Day 2's first game is the upper bracket between Rogue and G2. One thing I haven't talked about yet was that Rogue has historically been an incredible team online for these past several seasons, but when they've hit a LAN event, they've always fallen short. If you're somebody who doesn't think distinctions between online and LAN exists for certain teams, then this squad since their Millennium days probably would like a word with you. But now that the major is online, they shouldn't have any trouble pulling off a victory here, right? Wrong. I don't think G2 loses this match. I'm not even using their EUL head-to-head victory in week 1 to help justify this prediction either. That game was the first professional match with Leon and Karzeka on the team, and Rogue would only lose one other game the entire rest of the stage. I don't care about that match. I just think that when the occasion calls for it, G2 is the team I have the most faith to step up, and after more than 5 months with Citizen and Virtue, I honestly expect results from this team at this point. I've given you the storyline. You can decide for yourself whether I'm a nutcase insomniac who had too much monster, which I definitely have, but I'm calling a G2 win and slotting them into the grand final with that map advantage. What this does, though, is make the losers bracket match between Rogue and BDS the most interesting match of the whole bracket. Elimination game, stakes are high, the number 1 and number 2 seeds vying for that second grand final spot. I could flip a coin again, but that'd be anticlimactic. Like it or not, one way or the other, the grand final is going to turn into a G2 rematch against one of these teams, both of whom thus far have lost. They made roster changes around the same time, they finished with the same amount of points and the same amount of rounds won during the EUL stage. They seem incredibly evenly matched, so this is probably the time I felt the most justified going with a gut feeling. I think BDS doesn't take it. I just killed the meme that gave me my career. This then makes the rematch for G2 against Rogue in the grand final. Remember, G2 has a map advantage in this game, and there's also that trend of winning for whoever the upper bracket finalist is. Personally, I think this game bucks the trend of those other grand finals. I think we're going to need all 4 maps and maybe 5 hours plus to determine the winner of this one, and playing in a match that goes that long means you have to ditch the fatigue and have a lot of synergy with your team. And because they've been a full 5-stack for longer, have players who have done marathon matches before, and only have to worry about winning 2 maps as opposed to all 3, my pick for the European mini-major is G2 Esports. I am fully aware of what I just did there, don't worry. Rogue is a good team who shows a lot of promise even with those 2 roster changes. BDS is a strong team who came blasting out of the gates at a moment's notice. I don't know how the hell Virtus.pro even got here, but the most versatile team who can hang with anybody and who I can trust to adapt to different situations fastest is the Danish, the Aussie, the walking sex machine, and that one British guy. And Kanto. That is all from me. Please be sure to tune into the 6th August Major European bracket when it begins Friday, August the 21st at 7 a.m. Eastern. Once we're through, we'll get to do our first event review in a really long time, and then start kicking the content game into a much higher gear. Please hit up my Twitter, my Twitch, and this YouTube channel for more in the coming days. Please and thank you, and I genuinely appreciate all of you for your support and your encouragement. Been a tough month, but we are about to bounce back. I'll see you later. Mwah!